morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Season Keepers, the show where the only two people we recommend keeping for the season is us. My name's Matt, aka Clean Sheet Wipeout.
My name's James, aka SK James FPL.
How you doing, mate?
Not too bad, thank you.
Good man. Good man.
Yeah, carnage, isn't it? COVID.
I was going to say we're going to get straight into it. Yeah, the COVID cases are a bit worrying, aren't they? Obviously, I think the latest round of results, it's 42 new cases, albeit in almost 4,000 tests, but that's still quite a lot. And as we've obviously seen with the Spurs game, that got postponed, their training ground was shut. I believe they trained either today or yesterday, but I don't think it was at the training facility. Obviously, Man United have closed their training facilities for 24 hours. Brighton are now announcing that they've got COVID. It's crazy times and almost inevitable. I think we spoke about it quite a while ago, didn't we? That we were a little bit worried about the winter period. Obviously, Boris is worried about the winter period and the whole booster kind of process being brought forward. But I would not be surprised if we get a lot of postponements over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Agreed. It's a bit of a nightmare to plan in terms of FBL. Just hold off on decisions as long as possible.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's very tricky. It just becomes a game of luck, really.
Yeah.
Another season with an asterisk, sadly.
I know it's mad, and like you said there with transfers, I think I've got one free transfer this week. I don't even think I'll use it just for the worry of bringing someone in that then doesn't play, and it's going to be one of those winters. I have a horrible feeling, but there was obviously 9 fixtures in game week 16, and as always, we're here to review them, James. So let's get stuck into it. The Friday night fixture: Brentford 2, Watford 1.
It started well for Watford. Started well for my FPL team. Dennis returning.
Yeah,
A lot of people were torn between going Dennis or King. Obviously, AFCON maybe swayed it for a lot of people to King, but
I went King.
I was very happy with Dennis, and obviously King a couple of minutes beforehand. I think he hit the post.
He did.
Didn't he?
Yeah, raging. Lovely strike. Kind of pinged it around the keeper, and came out off the post. 2 minutes later, Dennis was celebrating with a header. It's one of those weeks really. It was what, 2 points for King, 9 points for Dennis, and it is what it is. Like the whole AFCON put me off, and I believe Nigeria have sacked their manager ahead of AFCON, and he's the manager that Dennis had fallen out with. So I highly expect him to go, and for that reason, I kind of didn't want to bring him in to then take him out, and I like King, so we'll just go with it.
Fair enough.
Obviously, there was quite a lot of teams I've seen on Twitter that had both Dennis and Mbomo. What a return.
Yeah, an amazing return. Obviously, right at the end of the game for Mbuemo with the penalty. Imagine the headlines if he hit the post.
Oh, mate.
That'd have been amazing.
No, he did nothing during the game. Like, I watched it and he was fairly anonymous. I think he had one reasonable strike, but he's ended up scoring the winning penalty here, getting 2 bonus points, and coming away with 9 points. So for those that own both and potentially had to play them both, given they might have had Spurs assets, you've came up trumps here. 18 points from the first game.
Yeah, very happy with that. Very fortunate.
All right, let's jump on to the Saturday fixtures, and albeit the result was a surprising one, it did involve an absolute madness from one of the Wolves players. It was Man City 1, Wolves 0.
Yeah, a bit of craziness from Jimenez. Obviously, just been booked and then goes to block the ball. Don't know what he was thinking, and fair play to the ref for actually sending him off and not just telling him off.
He kind of had to, didn't he? Like gave him no choice. And I was buzzing because obviously I made 3 transfers this week. All 3 of my forwards went. Jimenez was one of them. Had I not made that move -4 from Jimenez, I would have had to play him. Even though I brought in Antonio for him, there's still a gain there because obviously Jimenez picks himself up a -2. Antonio got 2, so that's a balance. But Jimenez now misses fixtures. So That was quite fortunate there.
Yeah, yeah. For a split second, I thought you still had him, and then I was disappointed to remember that you had transferred him out.
Bastard.
But no, very, very strong performance from City.
Yeah, dominant.
So Bernardo picking up the assist,
Yep.
which we'll take. I brought him in this week, as did the entirety of Twitter.
Yeah, except for me. But it wasn't a penalty. It frustrates me because it quite clearly hits his chest in his before it hits his elbow, and I think on another day VAR overturned that decision. For me, it's not a pen. I think they came out and claimed that there wasn't the angle at the time to show where it had come off, but I think that's a load of bollocks. That's not to say Man City wouldn't have gone on to win this game anyway, because as you said, they were dominant. Salah made 8 saves in the game, but it is frustrating given we've got technology that a penalty like that is still given.
Yeah, it was a close call. It's supposed to be clear and obvious, but after watching it about 6 times, I still couldn't tell if it hit his arm or not.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and probably frustrating for Wolves fans as well. But I think they've got quite a tricky run over this winter period, albeit they're due to play Brighton, obviously midweek. Brighton are one of the teams that have announced that they've got COVID cases, so who knows? That game on Wednesday, we're recording on Monday the 13th. By the time Tuesday evening comes around, we might see we've got postponements. But after that, it's Chelsea, Arsenal, United. It's a tough old run, and Wolves will hopefully be looking to pick up some points.
Agreed.
All right, let's jump on to a game that neither of us want to particularly talk about, but we're going to have to. A typical performance from Southampton. Start well and then get absolutely battered. It was Arsenal 3, Southampton 0.
Yeah, this wasn't a fun watch. It was great for FPL, but in terms of my team, it was horrendous. I think Caballero actually did okay, even though we conceded 3.
Yeah, he did what he could with that defence in front of him. Yes, on this Saturday, it's not good enough.
No, not at all. And rather worryingly, obviously Armstrong went off injured. Ambrosio, yeah. So striking wise, we're a bit limited now. Yeah. Hopefully, well, I've seen positive news on Brojo. He might be okay for the next game.
Fingers crossed.
But yeah, no, it's just real poor performance, and because it's worth noting that Odegaard has scored 3 games on the trot, which is a bit sort of not his typical returns. Really.
No, it's not. No, he's obviously got 4 goals this season now. But yeah, before this little run, his last goal was game week 5, and then he went on a run of like 1s and 2s, and suddenly got a little bit of a run in the team. I think game week 13 he was obviously brought back in really to start. Since then, 3 goals in 4 games. It's not bad at all.
No, he's looked pretty dangerous, and sometimes I'm watching the game and I confuse him and Smith Rowe because they kind of look a bit similar. And Odegaard has been playing really well.
Yeah, agreed. It's certainly worth keeping an eye on. He's obviously only 5.4 million and 2.7% owned at the moment, so could be quite a tidy differential.
Yeah, definitely.
Aaron Ramsdale. Here's a quick question for you, James. Ramsdale or Pickford for England goalkeeper?
In current form, you have to go Ramsdale.
Yeah, you'd expect so. Providing he keeps up this form, I'd be stunned if Ramsdale isn't picked as the England goalkeeper come, is it March, I think is the next bout of international fixtures. I'd be amazed. I mean, he made some good saves in this game. Saints started pretty well. First 15-20 minutes, I think he made a couple of good saves there, and obviously he's picked up 6 saves in the game. Caballero obviously only 2 but conceded 3, but it does show he's keeping Arsenal kind of at least tight at the back, and when he's called upon, he's making the saves that he needs to make.
Yep, he's making a lot of saves as well, which is good for the extra points, good for bonus. He's doing everything right, really, to be honest. And people are saying don't do a goalkeeper transfer, but in this case, it might pay off for you.
Yeah, picked up another 11-pointer this week, so very happy. I think both of us were obviously playing him. So
feels like this season's Martinez, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's jump on to a game that was full of goals, and quite a surprising result. It was Chelsea 3, Leeds 2.
Yeah, a bit of a crazy game. Rudiger obviously winning 2 penalties is a bit strange,
Yeah,
but
just the tad.
yeah, credit Jorginho for putting them away.
Two very good
And
penalties.
yeah, exactly. And that man Mason Mount doing the business again when he starts.
Yep.
Maybe we should actually bring him in.
Yeah, I feel like we're on repeat constantly about
We're
both
going to be
Mount.
saying it next week.
Yeah, Mason Mount and James Maddison, I think, are two players that we continuously seem to be discussing. And like Odegaard, Mount is obviously started the last 3 games and he's got 3 goals plus 2 assists.
Yeah, very impressive.
Um, and obviously that man, even though I think quite a lot of people were selling him this week, Rafinha,
Me
proven once,
included.
well, yeah, proven that he's fixture proof, isn't he?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, obviously he's not going to have pens forever.
No.
And obviously this one was a pen.
Yeah.
However, yeah, he's very good, and you'd expect him to return potentially in any game, even with the tough fixtures. So, and for his price, he is a very good price. So,
Yeah.
I will very much be probably thinking about getting him back in when the fixtures sort of ease up a bit. Especially with the chances are I'm going to be spreading the value around my team depending on what happens COVID wise.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
probably I'm either going to get rid of Ronaldo if Man United gets called off, or I'll get rid of Jamie Vardy, which I'll probably do regardless of COVID, just because he's a lot of money to
He
be
is.
playing every other game.
Yeah, agreed. And to be fair, I think we're going to see a lot of rotation, even if obviously games aren't postponed for COVID, as we saw with the weekend, and we'll touch on it later. Vardy was obviously rested completely this weekend, and I think that's going to happen to a lot of players. I'd honestly be surprised if even Salah played all of the games. He's surely due an inevitable rest. So yeah, it's worth having a strong squad. And when we come on to talking about our teams, we can kind of quickly discuss benches. But yeah, like you, I'm looking to potentially strengthen if possible.
Yeah, big time.
Right. A game that was probably as tight as we thought it might be, given the performances of Villa under new man Steven Gerrard, and he returned to Anfield and was quite unfortunate not to come away with anything. It was Liverpool 1, Aston Villa 0.
Yeah, he gave a good account of himself to Gerrard in this game. Set the team up well. I was worried that Salah wasn't going to get return, but thankfully he did in the end.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people obviously were maybe going to Ronaldo, because obviously Norwich is a good fixture.
Yep.
Villa have been playing well, so I completely understand why you'd maybe go against him this week. But thankfully, we were sort of saved by that.
Yeah, he looked nervous stepping up to take the penalty, but I suppose you would be knowing that Martinez is on the other side. And
wow, yeah, he's been a dick as well, and he's waving his hands around everywhere, just all the mind games in the world, and then Salah just puts it in.
Yeah, I was going to say, and it's no surprise to see that both Trent and Robertson was picking up the majority of the bonus points. I think both of them have really stepped up their games and in recent weeks, and I wouldn't be against the double up. You know, if you say you're not on a Jota and you're currently on Salah and you got a bit of money in the bank, I wouldn't put people off bringing in Robbo. He's only 3% owned at the moment. Yes, he's 7 million, but you know, compared to Trent, he's 8.1, almost 40, or just over 40% owned now. There's a real difference in for a 1.1 saving. I think it could be worth it.
Yeah, it's a great shout. And I'd like to have that triple up. That'd be pretty cool, to be honest. Yeah, with the fixtures as well, I think you'd need at least one of those fullbacks, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Because even if I very much doubt Klopp rotates both of them in the same game, but you probably would expect one or the other to miss out at some point. So if you've got the coverage there, yeah, I think it could be a shout.
Definitely.
And then the final game of the Saturday and the fourth game of the day to be won by a penalty. It was Norwich 0, Man United 1.
Yes, it was. Well dispatched by Ronaldo. Obviously, a lot of people brought him in this game week.
Yep.
Likewise. And he did deliver. He got 3 bonus as well. Obviously, it was close with De Gea playing so well. Made some brilliant saves from Pookie. And De Gea seems to be back to near his best.
Yeah, 100%. Ever since Henderson's injury, obviously De Gea was brought back in. Yeah, he hasn't really kind of taken his foot off the gas, and time after time, he's almost keeping United in the game in periods. And United didn't play particularly well in this one. I was very surprised that Ronaldo picked up 3 bonus points because, again, I thought he was largely anonymous for the game and obviously stepped up and took his pen well, but he didn't really have that many chances. And to pick up 3 bonus was quite surprising.
Yeah, we'll definitely take that.
Yeah, 100%. The other player that I thought really stood out, and I quite enjoyed watching, was Diogo Dalot. Obviously 4.5 million, only 2.7% owned at the moment. Both him and Tellez I thought were particularly impressive, and they both have been over the last 2 to 3 weeks. Obviously they've taken Shaw and Wan-Bissaka's place. I think Tellez and Shaw might be a tighter affair in terms of who plays, but I think at the moment Dalot's probably got the shirt over Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, potentially. Obviously, very cheap as well. One to monitor, but obviously, you do kind of want people that are definitely playing in the current environment.
Agreed. Yeah. Well, he's obviously had 3 starts, 3 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is quite key, and Rangnick seems to favour him. So I'm going to keep an eye on it, because even if I roll the transfer this week, defence is maybe an area that I might look to strengthen, potentially say drop Livramento and then bring in another cheaper defender that's more likely to pick up points. So Dalot could be a good option.
Yeah, definitely.
Not really a lot to talk about the next game. First game on the Sunday, it was Burnley 0, West Ham 0.
Yeah, not what a lot of people hope for.
No.
Obviously yourself brought in Antonio.
I did, yeah.
Maybe thought, here we go, here, get back on track, here, get a couple of goals here.
Fucking useless.
Nothing.
The issue is that obviously I thought Burnley away would be tough, because Burnley always is. And yet they've got Arsenal away after that. It's the fixtures following that are the key ones for me, and that's why this whole COVID thing's a little bit worrying and obviously frustrating, because for West Ham it's Norwich, Saints, Watford, Palace, Leeds as the next 5 fixtures. Now you'd probably say the first 3 of those, Norwich, Southampton and Watford, should have a mountain of goals for West Ham. The other 2, Palace and Leeds, might be trickier, but I can see why people have done the double up. There's a lot of people with Antonio and Bowen, and that's probably why. It's not necessarily looking to the immediate fixtures, but those 3 over the Christmas period could be key. I was listening to James at Planet FPL earlier on today, and he made a great point, and to be fair, a point that made me very nervous. Obviously, with Antonio's injuries and history of injuries, does he play all of these fixtures over Christmas?
Potentially not. And even if he does play, obviously the risk of him getting injured is stronger.
It's worrying, because I suppose all the way up to game week 26, I think it's worth holding West Ham assets, and even after that, it's Liverpool, but then some reasonable fixtures. It's just a case of whether I want to continuously watch Antonio pick up 2 points, because positionally he wasn't brilliant in this game, and I was just a little bit frustrated. I think Bowen looked the more likely to score at times.
Yeah, fair enough. I understand that frustration.
From 1-0 to an absolute stormer of a game for Leicester. Leicester 4, Newcastle 0.
Yeah, here's my frustration. I'm sure many fellow Vardy owners will be frustrated with me watching Leicester tear Newcastle apart, and what could have been a 10+ pointer for Jamie Vardy is nothing. Didn't even come off the bench.
Nope. And obviously Tielemans took the penalty.
Yep. It's a bit of a sickener. Those that have jumped onto James Maddison though will be very happy with that.
Oh, absolutely. It's what, a 16-point return?
Yeah, very good. Obviously, people may have been put off by Leicester playing Spurs as the next game, and obviously with Tottenham and COVID, people were maybe thinking that might get called off. So I reckon a lot of people potentially shied away from some of those moves.
Quite possibly, and it's tough to tell, because obviously with the announcement that Spurs did train yesterday, it perhaps looks more likely that the game could be played. But
Mm.
I guess it's down to Premier League protocols and the amount of players that are still positive. But yeah, for those that are on Maddison, like fair play. And obviously Tielemans announced himself with a bang after 4 games out with injury. Straight away comes in, 2 goals, bang, 16 points.
That's very good. I doubt anyone will be on him, but it's it's a very good return.
Yeah, he's owned by 3.4%, and I expect they're all dead teams.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah, dead teams.
Yeah, 100%. Um, as for Newcastle, they were dreadful, and with these next 3 games, Liverpool, City, United, I don't see them picking up any points. Everton away, Everton aren't particularly impressive at the moment, but from Everton away to say Everton at home in 24, that's funny. They play Everton twice in 5 weeks. In that period, I think that is when they're going to have to really be targeting, and that's where we're going to have to sign players as well, because on the basis of that performance, Newcastle are down.
Yeah, definitely need some players. Obviously, yeah, the next 3 are going to be tough, so they could even get sort of cut away a little bit at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worrying times, but yeah, they've got the ownership, so they should invest hopefully in the window.
You bloody well hope so. And then the final game, and a game that irritated me in both formats of the game, to be honest. It was Crystal Palace 3, Everton 1.
Oh, absolutely love this. I own Conor Gallagher and basically everything.
Yep.
Sky, FPL draft, this.
Fucking joke.
Beautiful. Obviously scores the first goal, and then his second goal is delightful. Just
screamer.
Yeah, curls it into the top corner. Just lovely goal. And Palace fans must be dying for Palace to sign him. Obviously, I doubt Chelsea will let him go based on the way he's been playing. But yeah, he'd be a great player.
And he
if
played.
Palace were to get him permanently.
He played a lot further forward in this game, almost as a striker at times. And I think it's largely down to the fact that Hughes came into the team, because he was kind of really mopping up balls in midfield and kind of pressing Everton, which really meant that Gallagher could go on and do his thing. And Gallagher is incredibly impressive when he's got the space and the freedom to kind of roam. And he pops up in all sorts of positions. And as we've seen, he's got a finish on him. The finish for the first goal was tidy. The second one is an absolute screamer. And I think that's his 6th goal of the season. He's got 6 goals and 5 assists. That's very good for a 6.1 million midfielder, obviously playing for Palace. And yeah, I think he's just going to go on to even bigger and better things.
Yeah, he's an absolute bargain, and a lot of people were actually talking about how he's a sell because he'd not returned for 3 games on the trot, and people were saying, "Oh, yeah, if I got it, I'd definitely not buy him. I'd think about selling him."
Yeah.
But here he goes against Everton, 15 points, and we're all talking about him again.
Exactly, and I think that the positional sense of it kind of really helped there. Obviously, I think there was no Milivojevic, and it tended to be when he was playing, kind of Gallagher would be the one that kind of sits back a little bit. But yeah, when Hughes obviously stepped into midfield, as we've just said, then it gave him the freedom. And if that's going to be like that from now, the next 4 fixtures, and you'd probably include Tottenham away in that, I think are really worth attacking for Palace. Obviously, Saints, Watford, Tottenham, and Norwich. If I was to make a move this week, I'd strongly consider Gallagher, because if he's playing in that position, obviously against us, for instance, this week, I think he's going to tear us apart.
Yeah, some very good fixtures there. Yeah, and the first one against us, very tasty. Yeah, obviously I'm going to be holding for the foreseeable. I can't see myself getting rid of him for at least months.
No, excuse the
just
pun,
because of his price.
Exactly, he's a season keeper, James.
There we go. Yeah, I should have used that.
Right. Obviously the game that we missed out on there was the Spurs Brighton fixture that was postponed. But how did you get on?
Very, very, very well. 89 points, and that's without Jamie Vardy playing. I got a 1-pointer subbed in from Livramento. But other than that, it is
89 points.
very good scores. 11 for Ramsdale, 6 for Ben White, 9 for Alexander Arnold, 7 Cancelo, Dennis and Ronaldo with 9s up front. Bernardo Silva on 6, Salah on 16, obviously Gallagher 15.
Jesus.
Yeah, very healthy Green Arrow from 740k to 455k.
Nice.
So yeah, made a decent jump there, and yeah, very happy. And obviously absolutely battered the person in the cup.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the next question. Are you through in the cup?
I am.
Good man. I got 68 points this week, which, given I don't own the likes of Gallagher, who went off, kind of probably propelled most of the big scores out there. So I think 68 points was reasonable. The only, I guess, Jota benched was frustrating. Came on and got a 1-pointer, albeit probably had the chances to at least score 1. The most annoying player in my team at the moment is Reece James. Obviously,
oh yeah,
he's
big time.
He's picked up 1 point in the last 4 games. In the last 3 have been zeros. Obviously, rested against Watford, and then 0 West Ham, 0 Leeds. It's fucking irritating, and the fixtures aren't exactly the best. And then game week 24 is obviously 2 blanks, 24 and 25. But I've got to keep him surely for at least Everton and Wolves, and then maybe reconsider. But he's becoming an arse.
Yeah, totally agree. I own him too, and it's a lot of money for someone that's doing literally nothing.
Yeah, agreed. Which is another one of the reasons, if you've got a bit of money, Reece James, for instance, to Robbo could be a very good move if you've got the funds. For me, if you're selling Chelsea now, very unlikely to go back to them until all the way, game week 28, in which they've got a lovely run of 6-7 fixtures in a row. But yeah, if I sell Reece James, I'm definitely not going back for a while.
Yeah, agreed.
Right then, are you planning to make any transfers?
All depends on the news, but if I don't know, I'll either take obviously a -4, downgrade Vardy, upgrade one of my non-playing bench players.
Yep.
Because my bench is very poor. I've got Cancelo, obviously, who's not playing. Mendy, who's not even allowed to play for Leicester. Bazuma, who does play for Brighton, but that's the only playing player on my bench. And yeah, even my keeper, Foster, obviously doesn't play, but I'm not too concerned about that. It's just the rest of them. So yeah, I'd probably do that, or wait till the weekend, have 2 transfers for free, then do that move.
Yeah, seems fair.
Because then Vardy will probably play against Spurs, actually.
Exactly. The move that I'm considering, and obviously this is purely dependent on COVID news and whatnot, but I am considering moving Rafinha onto Gallagher. Albeit I do feel like I might have missed the boat, given he's just hold 15 points, but those next 3 fixtures, like we've mentioned, are really, really like tasty. You just kind of, if you're not on it and given his ownership, it's going to hurt, and it did this week. Whereas it almost matches the fact that Rafinha's got 3 poor fixtures. So I think it could be an easy switch, and it's one I've got to consider. Albeit I think Gallagher's going to go up in price this week, but it is what it is. Cancelo's obviously suspended this week, so I'm going to have to play Livramento against Palace no matter what, which is going to be annoying, but I don't want to be taking hits given it's this COVID.
No, exactly. I'm in the same situation with Livramento. He's just sort of hanging around really because of how cheap he is.
Exactly. Right then. Well, our advice I think would strongly be wait as late as possible for any kind of COVID news and cancellations, and don't get frustrated because it's a game at the end of the day, and yeah, we might see a couple of fixtures miss out this week, a couple of fixtures go next week. We can only do what we can do, and that is try and plan as much as possible, but beyond that, it's completely out of our hands.
Agreed.
Right, well, on that note, folks, good luck with the game week. It is a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Cheers guys.